Welcome back to another autumn night by the fire. Tonight I've prepared something special. An unsettling story that has haunted generations and stirred fear in the hearts of all who hear it. This is no ordinary tale. The legend of the bell, which has endured for centuries, rooted deep in the heart of rural Tennessee. It's a story of terror, of the unknown, and one that still baffles even the most skeptical of minds. So wrap yourself in your coziest blanket, let the sound of the crackling fire guide you, and listen closely as I recount one of the most chilling hauntings in American history. It all began in the year 1804 when John Bell, a humble farmer from North Carolina, moved his family to the remote farmlands of Adams, Tennessee. The land was fertile, the days were peaceful, and for the first few years life was good. They built a large farmhouse surrounded by sprawling fields, where John, his wife Lucy, and their children settled into what they thought would be their forever home. But even in those quiet moments, something seemed off. Locals whispered about the land, dark rumors of an ancient curse, but the Bells' practical people paid no heed. That is, until the strange noises began. At first, it was nothing but faint, almost imperceptible tapping on the walls late at night. The Bells dismissed it as creaks from the old wooden house, or perhaps the wind blowing against the barn outside. But slowly the knocks turned to thuds, louder, closer, as if something, or someone, was trying to get in. The noises weren't just from the walls anymore. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, began echoing through the hallways at night. And it wasn't long before other strange things started to happen. The youngest Bell children woke up screaming, their beds shaking violently as if someone, or something, was trying to throw them out. Their blankets would be yanked away by invisible hands, and in the dark corners of the rooms, they'd hear faint whispers, soft, chilling murmurs that they couldn't quite understand. John Bell, a deeply religious man, tried to convince himself that this was all in their imagination. But deep down he knew something was terribly wrong. The family's animals began behaving strangely as well. The dogs growled at shadows. The cattle refused to leave the barn at night, restless and agitated. The once peaceful farm was becoming a place of fear. One evening, as John Bell sat by the fire, he swore he heard it, faint at first, like the rustle of leaves outside the window. But then it grew louder. It was a voice. A woman's voice, clear but distant. She was calling his name. But when he stepped outside, there was no one there. Only the wind howling through the trees. Things escalated quickly from there. The tapping became pounding, the whispers became screams. The Bell children reported seeing dark, shadowy figures at the foot of their beds, and the entire family began hearing that same chilling voice, sometimes mocking, sometimes angry, but always filled with malice. It wasn't long before the entity began to speak more clearly. "Kate," it said one night. "My name is Kate." Kate Batts was the name of a local woman who had been accused of witchcraft years earlier, though she had long since passed away. The Bells remembered her as eccentric, but no one ever imagined she could be behind something so terrifying. Yet night after night, the voice of Kate grew louder, stronger, more malevolent. She tormented the family relentlessly, throwing dishes across the room, pulling chairs from under them, and worst of all, whispering horrifying threats in their ears. "I will kill you," she would hiss to John Bell, especially when he was alone. "I will see to it that you suffer." The entity's presence filled the house with an oppressive weight. The air grew thick, the shadows seemed darker, and no matter how hard they prayed, the torment never stopped. What was most unsettling was the witch's fixation on young Betsy Bell, John's daughter. Betsy was only 12 years old when the attacks on her began. It started with scratches, long, deep welts that appeared on her arms and back as if from claws. But it wasn't just physical harm. Kate hated Betsy, taunting her nightly, telling her she would never find peace. Betsy began waking up in the middle of the night to the sensation of hands around her throat, squeezing tightly, as though something unseen was trying to strangle her. The entity also began sabotaging Betsy's personal life. When a local boy, Joshua Gardner, proposed marriage to her, Kate was furious. The Bell Witch would scream at the couple whenever they were together, and when Joshua visited the house, the torment would intensify. Betsy was torn. She loved Joshua, but the witch's constant threats drove her to break off the engagement, fearing that worse harm would come to him if they stayed together. The weight of the witch's obsession with her became unbearable, and soon Betsy couldn't even sleep in the house. She'd run to friends' homes, but no matter where she went, the witch followed, always whispering, always tormenting. The haunting of the Bell family became so infamous that it attracted the attention of none other than General Andrew Jackson, future President of the United States. Jackson had heard of the strange events at the Bell farm and, intrigued, decided to visit with several of his men. They arrived on horseback, a group of hardened soldiers who had faced battles but were skeptical of the supernatural. That skepticism quickly faded. As they approached the Bell property, their wagon came to an abrupt stop. No matter how hard they tried, the horses refused to move, frozen in place as if some invisible force was holding them back. Jackson, unnerved but curious, reportedly shouted, "By the eternal, boys, this is the witch." That night, as Jackson's men gathered around the fire, the witch made her presence known. She taunted them mercilessly, mimicking their voices, moving objects, and laughing at their attempts to remain brave. One of Jackson's men, claiming to be a witch tamer, boasted that he could defeat the entity. But before the night was over, he was thrown from his chair and chased out of the house by an invisible force. Jackson, a man known for his boldness, left the next morning, reportedly saying he would rather face the British again than spend another night with the Bell Witch. As the years went by, the hauntings became even more focused, more malicious, especially toward John Bell. His health began to fail rapidly. He suffered from violent convulsions, severe headaches, and unexplained muscle spasms. Doctors were baffled, unable to find a cause for his symptoms. But John Bell knew. He was certain the witch had cursed him, just as she had promised. On December 20th, 1820, John Bell passed away under mysterious circumstances. The following day, during his funeral, those present claimed to hear the unmistakable sound of the witch's laughter, echoing through the trees, celebrating his death. The Bell Witch had finally claimed her victim. The torment had come to an end, but at a devastating cost. Though the Bell Witch's attacks subsided after John Bell's death, the legend has lived on for centuries. The Bell Witch Cave, located near the old Bell property, remains a place of eerie fascination. Those who venture into the cave report hearing faint whispers, footsteps in the dark, and even seeing shadowy figures darting just out of sight. Over the years, there have been countless attempts to explain the haunting. Some claim it was the spirit of Kate Batts, others believe it was a poltergeist or even a demonic entity. But no matter how you interpret the events, one thing is clear. The Bell Witch left a mark not just on the Bell family but on American history itself. Her story has become a cautionary tale, a reminder of the thin veil between our world and the unknown. But even now, centuries later, the mystery of the Bell Witch hasn't been fully solved. Some believe the entity wasn't a ghost at all, but rather the manifestation of the Bell family's own fears and psychological trauma. Could it have been a collective hysteria brought on by isolation in the Tennessee wilderness? Others speculate that the haunting was an elaborate hoax, orchestrated by someone with a grudge against the Bell family, perhaps even one of their own. Then there's the strange case of the Bell Witch Cave, which many claim is the true home of the spirit. Numerous visitors to the cave have reported hearing voices, seeing apparitions, or even being touched by unseen hands. Some paranormal investigators believe the cave holds the key to unlocking the truth behind the Bell Witch legend. It remains a hotspot for ghost hunters and thrill seekers to this day. In fact, one of the most eerie aspects of the legend is that the Bell Witch supposedly foretold the death of John Bell. This level of premonition has led some to believe that Kate wasn't just a ghost, but a more powerful entity, perhaps even something demonic with knowledge beyond the earthly realm. Could the Bell Witch have been a curse placed upon the family for past wrongs? Or was it something darker, a force that defied explanation? As with all great mysteries, we may never know for sure. But one thing is certain. The legend of the Bell Witch will continue to haunt the hills of Tennessee for many generations to come. Have you ever heard of other hauntings as terrifying as this one? Or maybe you've encountered something yourself that made your skin crawl. Let me know in the comments below. Your story might just be the next one we share here. The line between the known and unknown is thin, and sometimes it's crossed when you least expect it. Thank you for joining me tonight for the chilling tale of the Bell Witch. Stories like these remind us that the line between reality and the unknown can be unsettlingly thin. And who knows what other mysteries are waiting to be uncovered around the next corner. But I want to hear from you. Have you heard of other legends or strange events that have sent a shiver down your spine? Or perhaps there's a mysterious story from your hometown that you think deserves to be told by the firelight. Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Your story might just be the next one we unravel here together. And remember, the Cozy Lounge Ambience channel is where we blend the warmth of a cozy autumn evening with the thrill of a captivating story. Whether you're drawn to the supernatural, historical mysteries, or tales that make you question the very nature of reality, this is the place for you. So if you're curious about what's coming next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell, so you never miss another Fireside mystery. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the story. It really helps support the channel and lets me know you want more content like this. Let's keep this community growing, where every story leads to another, and every moment by the fire brings us closer to the unknown. Stay curious, stay cozy, and I'll see you by the fire again soon.